Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Will the House please come to order? Good afternoon. The devotional today will be led by Representative James Gregoire of Fairfield.
See if I can do this technology the right way. I thank my friend from Burlington for switching with, well, I already messed it up, for switching with me today. For the first time in 8 years of trying, I get to give the devotional on my birthday. I also want to thank the State House Singers for being willing partners in this three-way swap. As of after today, many of you may be mad at them for letting this train wreck occur. And I am having a hard time with my technology. Here we go. I was going to start by telling a joke about a broken pencil, but honestly, there's no point. I recently started working on a bill regarding elevators. Turns out it's a complex issue with lots of ups and downs. I tried to draft a bill on legislative burnout, but the committee said the language was too exhaustive. I even introduced a bill for people afraid of the dark, but they insisted on a sunset clause. I can't win. I know some of you may think these jokes are corny. Can't help it. I'm outstanding in my field. Nailed the cornfield joke. Don't worry, it gets worse. I know we have a lot of heavy lifting to do today, and I was going to tell a joke about the gym, but it didn't work out. I even saw a specialist about my floor speech anxiety. He told me I just needed to stop being so tense. I said, I can't help it, Doc. I live in the present. Nailed the grammar joke. How about the governor? We know he's a man of action, but I hear he's looking into a new fleet of state vehicles that runs entirely on maple syrup. Sounds like a sweet deal, but I'm worried he'll sugarcoat the maintenance costs. That's for you, Alice. Our dear speaker, I asked her earlier how she manages to keep such a tight grip on the gavel, and she told me it's all about momentum. I asked if she was talking about legislative progress, to which she said, no, it means if I stop moving, the committee chairs will catch me. She also has a specific facial expression for when a member says, I'll be brief. It's the same look that I give the member from Shelburne when he brags about how good he is at refilling the candy bowl in committee. You're no Brumstead, but I love you, buddy. Then there's the Dean of the House. She has survived more cycles than many of our members have had birthdays. She's seen enough once-in-a-generation budgets to know that in Vermont, a generation lasts about 2 biennium. I overheard her giving the member from Montpelier some advice the other day. She told him, in this house, you have to listen more than you talk. In response, he told her, in Ireland, if you listen more than you talk, people assume you're either a British spy or you've run out of Guinness. But there's one thing that can save us, and it's tripartisanship. It's a uniquely Vermont thing where Democrats, Republicans, and progressives all sit in a room together and agree that anyone who calls Creamy soft serve should be escorted to the state line immediately. None of this would run without our Sergeant at Arms, Agatha. I asked how she manages to wrangle 180 legislators. She just leaned against the chamber door and said, it's a high-stakes constitutional crisis where the delegates impeached the office microwave, voted to designate the break room a disaster zone, and held a roll call vote to declare the communal fridge a sovereign nation. Listen, I was hungry when I wrote this. I'm convinced that if she ever actually used her police powers, half of us would be in timeout in the card room until the end of the biennium. Nothing I've said is serious, just an April Fool's baby being foolish. Blame the member from Swanton, for it is he who told me not to do my heartfelt piece, because it was too sappy even for sugaring season. I'll end with this. We argue passionately because we care deeply. If we listen with a little more grace, no problem is too big to solve. Thank you, and let's keep our debates shorter than the Vermont summer. Thank you, boss.
Members, Our first order of business today is to welcome our newest member to the chamber, Representative Kamulia Case Long of Milton. Will the clerk please read the governor's letter of appointment?
I have the honor to inform you that I have appointed Kamulia Case Long of Milton, Vermont, to serve in the General Assembly representing House District Chittenden-Franklin. Sincerely, Philip B. Scott, Governor.
The member from Milton took his oath of office this morning and is ready to be seated. So at this time, I ask the member from Milton to please proceed to the front doors of the chamber so that he can be officially escorted to his seat. Madam Sergeant at Arms.
Madam Speaker, I present to you Representative Kamulia Case Long of Milton, representing House District Chittenden-Franklin.
Will the Sergeant at Arms please escort Representative Long to his seat, which is seat number 114. And now the chair appoints the member from Milton to the Committee on Education. Again, congratulations, member from Milton. We have two House bills for introduction today. The first is House Bill 953, which is an act relating to approval of the amendment to the Charter of the Town of Panton, introduced by Representatives Byrong of Vergennes and North of Ferrisburgh. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 953, an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the Town of Panton.
Now the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. And now House Bill 954 is an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the Town of Stowe, introduced by Representative Lipsky of Stowe and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 954, an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the Town of Stowe.
Now the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. We also have two Senate bills for referral this morning. Senate Bill 64 is an act relating to amendments to the scope of the practice for optometrists, introduced by Senator White and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S 64, an act relating to amendments to the scope of practice for optometrists.
Now the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Health Care. And Senate Bill 278 is an act relating to cannabis, introduced by Senator Rom Hinsdale and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S 278, an act relating to cannabis.
Now the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. Members, earlier today, the Committee on Ways and Means reported favorably on House Bill 952, which is an act relating to capital construction in state bonding budget adjustment. Carrying an appropriation, the bill is referred to the Committee on Appropriations pursuant to House Rule 35A, pending its entry on the notice calendar. And earlier today, the Committee on Environment reported favorably on Senate Bill 218, which is an act relating to reducing chloride contamination in state waters. Affecting the revenue of the state, the bill is referred to the Committee on Ways and Means pursuant to House Rule 35A, pending its entry on the notice calendar. Members, we now have a joint Senate resolution to take up at this time. JRS 47 is a joint resolution relating to weekend adjournment on April 3rd, 2026. It was offered by Senator Baruth and was read and adopted on the part of the Senate. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
JRS 47, joint resolution relating to weekend adjournment on April 3rd, 2026. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that when the two houses adjourn on Friday, April 3rd, 2026, they be to meet again no later than Tuesday, April 7th, 2026.
Now you've heard the reading of the resolution, and the question is, shall the House adopt the resolution in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the resolution is adopted in concurrence. Members, we have received requests to read two House concurrent resolutions that the House and Senate adopted pursuant to the consent calendar. The first is HCR 217, which is a House concurrent resolution congratulating McNeil and Reedy of Rutland on 70 years as a superb men's clothing retailer. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas on April 16, 1956, James F. McNeil and George Reedy opened a new store at 81 Merchants Row in Rutland City, specializing in the sale of high-quality men's suits at a time when downtown Rutland was a thriving retail hub and men's suits were in steady demand. And whereas James McNeil brought pertinent retailing experience from both the Varsity Shop and the men's and boys department at the Economy Store. And whereas McNeil and Reedy served as the local franchise for Bond Clothing Stores Incorporated, a premier men's clothing manufacturer. And whereas across the ensuing decades, McNeil and Reedy's inventory diversified, evolving into a full-service men's clothing store and the largest purveyor of suit and tuxedo rentals in Vermont. And whereas the founders' twin sons, Jim and John McNeil, continued their father's legacy as the store's joint proprietors, succeeding in downtown Rutland despite the advent of suburban shopping malls, national clothing chains, and the increasing popularity of online shopping. And whereas McNeil and Reedy weathered these developments, providing expert tailoring and personalized service and engendering customer loyalty. And whereas the third generation of the store's McNeil family leadership, Casey McNeil, has recently assumed the helm, bringing his background in finance and a modern perspective on retail management. And whereas since inheriting the family's merchandising legacy, Casey McNeil has redesigned the store, expanded the tailoring department, broadened the inventory, introduced new heritage and performance lines, and emphasized materials and craftsmanship. And whereas 2026 plans at an industry-admired McNeil and Reedy include further design enhancements, the introduction of new tailored clothing lines, and the expansion of cigar offerings. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly congratulates McNeil and Reedy of Rutland City on 70 years as a superb men's clothing retailer. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to McNeil and Reedy.
Next is HCR 230, which is a House concurrent resolution recognizing April 2026 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in Vermont and honoring Prevent Child Abuse Vermont for a half a century of outstanding community leadership and service. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas the societal scourge of child abuse can threaten children's tranquility and family cohesiveness and harmony. And whereas recognizing the severity of the societal problem, Congress enacted the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, CAPTA, of 1974, Public Law Number 93 to 247. And whereas key findings in CAPTA are that child abuse or neglect can result in the death of a child, and the problem of child abuse and neglect requires a comprehensive approach. And whereas CAPTA was intended to address these challenges through the creation of a federal office on child abuse and neglect, grants to states, Native American organizations, and public and private organizations, and improve federal coordination and monitoring. And whereas in Vermont, the nonprofit organization dedicated to child abuse prevention is Prevent Child Abuse Vermont, PCAVT, which since 1976 has worked to lessen the presence of child abuse in our state. And whereas in 2025, PCAVT served 7,694 adults, 3,451 children, and indirectly supported an additional 86,481 children. And whereas PCAVT has shown that it is possible to reduce the occurrence of child abuse in Vermont by training adults on the perils of child abuse, investing in programs that strengthen families and communities, enabling children to develop positive relationships with caring adults, and creating effective partnerships between schools, healthcare providers, community organizations, businesses, and families. And whereas in 1982, Congress adopted SJ Resolution 149 to designate an annual National Child Abuse Prevention Week and to spotlight the issue and raise greater awareness. And since 1983, every American president has issued a National Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. And whereas in 2026, PCAVT is observing its 50th anniversary, an occasion meriting legislative recognition for PCAVT's continuing dedication to an important cause. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives, the General Assembly recognizes April 2026 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in Vermont and honors Prevent Child Abuse Vermont for a half-century of outstanding community leadership and service. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to PCAVT.
Are there any announcements? Member from West Rutland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It was kind of fun a little while ago in the cafeteria, walking around with the McNeil boys here, because people were. I think that's Jim on that side and John over here. Maybe it's John, and that's. I'm not sure which is which, and their father never figured it out until they were in their 30s. So I'll forgive myself for that. But it was kind of fun watching people walk up to John and say, "Jim, how you doing?" And shaking his hand and grabbing him and hugging him, and then John saying, "Yeah, you're looking for my brother Jim," and they look at him like, looking like they're looking in a mirror. But a little about their store, real quick. McNeil and Reedy is. I consider it the showpiece of downtown Rutland. The transformation that store has gone through in the last 3 or 4 years is just incredible. When you walk in the door, it's like walking back into the the 1950s. When the store first opened. It's a true haberdashery. They have, if you need it as far as men's clothing goes, they have it in there, whether it's, they now have custom-made suits, it's a new line in there. They have, groomsmen's gifts. You can go in and get a fine cigar in there. You can, Vermont products. They'll even whip up a cappuccino for you, but it's an honor to introduce these guys, and Jim is a former, for those of you who don't know, he's a former representative from Rutland City and a former senator from Rutland County. But help me welcome the McNeil boys, Jim and John, and honor their store for 70 years in the Rutland area.
Will the former member and the guest of the member from West Rutland please rise and be recognized? Member from Waterbury.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As we just heard, April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And here in Vermont, we recommit to protecting our children and supporting the families and guardians who raise them. Every child deserves a safe, stable, and nurturing home, and every community has a role to play in making that a reality in our state. This month, we honor the resilience of survivors and the compassion of the professionals, volunteers, and neighbors who intervene, support, and prevent harm. The social workers, the educators, the law enforcement folks, the healthcare providers, the neighbors, childcare staff, and many community-based organizations across the state, like Prevent Child Abuse Vermont. Their work, often quiet and always essential, keeps children safe and helps families heal. Prevention starts with connection, simple acts like checking on a stressed parent, offering a hand with childcare, or helping a family find resources can really change the course of a child's life. We must also invest in those programs that strengthen families: accessible mental health care, substance use treatment, home visiting, quality child care, and economic support so parents can provide stability to their families. This April, I encourage everyone to learn the signs of abuse and neglect, to speak up when you're concerned, and to support local organizations doing prevention and family support work. Organizations just like Prevent Child Abuse Vermont. For 50 years, this organization has provided training and support to parents and guardians, to communities, to schools and healthcare providers, and others all over the state. They have literally changed the lives of thousands of Vermont children and their families over the course of those 50 years. Together, let's build communities where children are safe, families are supported, and every child can thrive. Madam Speaker, I ask that the body celebrate the 50th anniversary of Prevent Child Abuse Vermont, and to welcome the former rep from Berry City, Jonathan Williams, who now leads that organization, and his staff to the House. They're seated in the balcony.
Will the former member and the guest of the member from Waterbury please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Winooski.
Madam Speaker, I want to just take a moment to recognize a member of this body as he steps away from this chamber to more fully live his life with the love of his life. The member from Barrytown has spent the last 4 years with me in room 442 on the House Committee on Healthcare. And we've heard others speak to the arc of his professional impact on this state, which has been tremendous. I can speak to the last 4 years, and in that room, what a harmonizing force the member has been. He hasn't done that by dominating the conversation. He's done it by listening, truly listening, and in doing that, he's brought us along with him. When we've had moments where things were tense or maybe we had different perspectives on things, the member has really grounded us. And if you're lucky, that's through a story. Those stories often remind us who we work for, why we do this work, and what exactly we need to do. His storytelling is an art. It's not just simple reflections. His stories connect us. They make space for others, especially people who aren't in the room or at the table. And his stories have helped us see each other more clearly and more humanely. It's not often that I've met someone who's able to really fully live their life and to really love so deeply and to show joy in both of those. But ultimately, I feel the most special thing is that he's able to share it through story. It's very rare, and it's made us all work better. So as he leaves, I ask that we don't just thank the member from Barrytown, but we carry on his beautiful spirit of service and collaboration that he's modeled for us. Listening with care, leading with respect, and remembering that the stories that we tell and that we take time to hear really shape the kind of place that this can be, that we can be in room 42, in this chamber, and in Vermont. So thank you to the member for continuing to make stories.
Are there any further announcements? Member from West Rutland.
Yeah, it's me again. Topper McFawn. That's what I always call out when he walks into the room. I love you, Top. And I'm going to try to get through this and try not to sound too, I guess, mechanical, because I want to portray how much you mean to me, Top. I first met Top about 16 years ago. We sat next to each other in Human Services. He was on my left-hand side for 4 years. I had no idea at the time how much respect I'd gained for Topper, as much respect as I have for anybody on this planet. One thing I found out about Top early on is he'd have my back if it was appropriate. I also found out he had a bit of a mischievous side to him. And being a bit of a mischievous freshman, as most are, we had some testimony going on in committee one day. There was a woman in there telling us about, this is going to take a minute, so, telling us about women's programs in the state. And being the freshman that I was, I raised my hand and said, is there a men's program that's comparable to that? She said no, and I said, okay. She starts talking about another program and same script. Is there a men's program? No. She goes on to explaining about another women's program, and I raised my hand and she scowled at me. And I asked her again, and she just kind of shook her head and said no. And then she went on to the next program. Look at Top. She goes on to the next program, explaining the next women's program she was talking about. All of a sudden, I get this little elbow in the side. Top goes, I got this. Top raises his hand, just a sigh of relief. And Top goes, is there a men's program that's comparable to this? And Chair Pugh just threw her hands in the air and said, we're done. So, but Top and I have had a lot of conversations through the years, and one job that he had that I bet a lot of people didn't know is when he was 17 years old, he was the chauffeur for a really well-known Irish businessman down in Boston. And that's where he kind of started. I guess it'd be his first career till he kind of quit or got fired. I'm not sure which. And but one thing about Top is if you say he's from Boston, he'll correct you. He's from Cambridge, and proud of it. And there may not be a better family man, period, than Top. Early on in his marriage, he was telling me a story, and just in a nutshell, being a young man and living the life that he was, his wife said, Marianne told him, Top, it's time to be home. You got a family, and a switch flipped, and Top was there. And I compare it a lot to what's going on now in your life, Top. Marianne needs you. You flipped a switch, and your life went in a totally different direction. And I admire you for that. Not everybody does that. If you've ever seen him and his best friend, as he calls Marianne, the way they interact, it's a thing of beauty. It really is. They still act like a couple of high school sweethearts, not like a couple that's been together for decades. It's incredible, the amount of love. The caring, compassion, and warm-heartedness that comes out of you, Top, is second to none. And Top and I have a ritual. It's been going on for a few bienniums now. For several bienniums, I sought him out on the first day. And I sought him out to kiss the ring. Not a lot of people have seen it. We never made a big deal of it. It kind of started out as a kind of just a humorous thing. But for me, it turned into a real thing, and just a total thing of respect that I have for you, Top. And my intention is Friday is to kiss the ring for one last time. I'm going to be 70 years old in a few months, and I have a mentor for life, Top. You see, Madam Speaker, a big part of me wants to be like Topper. I think it's important to remember where you came from, but also have something to look forward to. You know, some might think that Topper was a father figure to me, you know, because he's got a few years on me. Topper, you were never a father figure to me. You were a friend through and through, one that I certainly admired. So with that, Top, don't forget us here under the Golden Dome, but look forward with your best friend, Mary Ann. You've got a great family and a lot of life to live. I love you, Top.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Shelburne.
Madam Speaker, I move that the remarks from the members from West Rutland and Winooski be journalized.
The member from Shelburne moves that we journalize the remarks of the member from West Rutland and Winooski. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have journalized the remarks of the member from West Rutland and Winooski. Are there any further announcements? Member from St. Albans City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I feel a little bit like Edwin Stanton following up the Emancipation Proclamation. But horrible bad jokes aside, I hope everyone can join me in wishing the member from Fairfield a happy birthday. And, you know, we spend a lot of time commuting back and forth from Franklin County. And aside from telling some really bad jokes, he cares a lot for Vermonters and for the members in this building and the outcomes we attain collectively.
Happy birthday, member. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Oh, member from Barrytown.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Not going to get into a long dissertation right now. I'm going to save that for Friday. I just want to say to two people that just stood up on the floor and talked a little bit about me. I love you both, too. I tell you, being welcomed into a new committee, my buddy Tom for years, it's just very humbling to listen to it, and very emotional for me. And I'm going to sit down now because I'm going to start talking about why it's going to be so hard to leave. But thank you very much for the kind words, both of you. And for anybody that has said things about me in the past couple of weeks, it's just very humbling, and thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Orders of the day. Members, we will begin with House Bill 657, which is an act relating to enabling unaccompanied homeless youth to obtain certain services without parental consent. Prior to third reading, the member from Williston, Representative Arsenal, and the member from Brattleboro, Representative Goodnow, offer an amendment to the bill that the first assistant clerk emailed to members at 9:34 today. This amendment is also posted on the House Overview webpage, and paper copies are available at the main table. Member from Williston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So your House Judiciary Committee heard testimony on just a few sections of this bill, and it took us a little bit of extra time, but we came back with this amendment just to tighten up one section and to correct what is likely an oversight in existing statute. So the first instance of amendment pertains to the immunity from liability provision that's in this bill. We understood that it was the desire of the Human Services Committee to strike a balance between encouraging providers to feel safe to provide their services to certified unaccompanied youth, and also keeping open any potential recourse should any bad actors come into the picture. And so we wanted to strike that balance and just tighten up the language a little bit, and that's what we have in the first instance of amendment. It specifies that professionals may rely in good faith on a certification form presented by a person who claims to be a certified unaccompanied youth, and then specifically says that those folks will be immune from liability from such reliance. So it's a little more tailored to the purpose of the bill, and also at the same time widens things to include services that are not contractual in nature, which is the existing language in the bill right now. It mentions contracts. So that's the first instance of amendment. And then secondly, I want to thank the Office of the Child, Youth, and Family Advocate for a very close reading of existing statute. They picked up on some language that essentially made it exempted certain shelter providers from a prohibition on knowingly taking, enticing, or harboring a runaway child with the intent of committing a criminal act involving that child, or with the intent of enticing or forcing that child to commit a criminal act. So this amendment changes it so that correctly those very specific shelter providers will be exempt from two particular behaviors that otherwise would constitute unlawfully sheltering or aiding a runaway child, but will not prohibit them from knowingly taking, enticing, or harboring a runaway child with the intent of committing a criminal act. So those are the two instances of amendment, and we ask for the body's support.
Member from Bridport.
Madam Speaker, your House Committee on Human Services thanks the members from Judiciary, as well as the keen eye of the advocate. And on a straw poll vote of 902, we found the amendment favorable and hope the body will support.
So the question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the member from Williston and the member from Brattleboro? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 657, an act relating to enabling unaccompanied homeless youth to obtain certain services without parental consent.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Now we'll take up House Bill 941, which is an act relating to municipal regulation of agriculture. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 941, an act relating to municipal regulation of agriculture.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Next is Senate Bill 210, which is an act relating to access to autopsy reports. The bill was referred to the Committee on Human Services, which recommends that the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as printed in today's calendar. The member from Milton, Representative Steady, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
S 210, an act relating to access to autopsy reports.
Member from Milton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. S210 was referred to the House of Human Services Committee after the passing from the Senate. I will be speaking to the underlying bill as well as my committee's amendment. This bill sets up a procedure for people close to a decedent to petition, to be able to petition the probate division of the Superior Court to obtain a copy of their autopsy. The procedure calls for the petitioner to notify the medical examiner and the state's attorney within 5 days after filing the petition. The medical examiner and the state's attorney have 14 days to respond to the petitioner and the Superior Court. The Superior Court must find that the petitioner has demonstrated good cause to receive a copy of the autopsy report. The judge must consider the relationship of the petitioner to the decedent and the decedent's family. Whether disclosure is necessary for the public evaluation of government proposal, the seriousness of the intrusion into the decedent and the decedent's family, and with the degree of redaction of some portions of the autopsy report, if it's appropriate. The availability of the similar information in other public records. Madam Speaker, may I speak to the amendment?
You may.
The reason for this amendment is this bill was sent over by Senate to enable the state's attorney to have veto power over the process. Your House Human Services Committee amends the bill to give the court the say that includes the list of the considerations whether the disclosure interferes with an ongoing criminal investigation. We also added a subsection C, which enables the petitioner to refile a petition if there is material change in the information. We heard from the following: bill reporter, Senate Committee on Health and Welfare; bill sponsor, Senator from Addison County; Legislative Counsel, Office of the Legislative Counsel; Legislative Policy and Records Attorney; Department of the State's Attorneys, Sheriffs; Chief Superior Judge, Vermont Judiciary. We received written testimony from the Vermont Department of Health, the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Commission. Madam Speaker, your House Human Services Committee approved S210 as amended with a vote of 10-0-1, and now I ask the body for your support.
The question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Human Services? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have proposed to the Senate to amend the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, tonight is Farmers' Night, and we will be joined by David Budbill's daughter and literary executor Nadine Budbill, along with actors Abby Page and Mark S. Roberts, for a dramatic reading and discussion of the beloved Vermont poetry that became David Budbill's Jude Vine. That's tonight in the chamber at 7:30. And I also wanted to give y'all a reminder that you have a little over 3 weeks until Legislative Cabaret. Check your email from the member from Charlotte for details.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 1 p.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 1 p.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, All those in favor, please say aye.